Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to yet another edition of the Lambom Show. Today is Saturday, June 10th, 2023. My name is Lambert Mbom and I'm your host. Today is a special day. It's a Saturday, it's a morning and very unusual because on Saturdays we normally host something related to soccer, to sports. But we are going to have some form of sports because we are going to be talking about politics. Over the last couple of years, I've lived in the United States for 20 years. Very often within the area, I live in Maryland. I've seen different Cameroonians at least try to run for public office. There was one that tried to be the mayor of DC a couple of years ago, and that did not work out. There's been one who has tried to do something in PG County. I think the last election had somebody running, if I'm not mistaken, for the treasury or something like that, another Cameroonian. That still did not work. But increasingly, there are many African immigrants in the United States that are taking up the challenge. They want to get into public office to serve. And some have succeeded, others have not. Today, I want to introduce you to one person who has taken the challenge, has taken the initiative. He wants to run for office in Maryland. He wants to be a congressman in Maryland. His name, Gabriel Njinimbot. I don't know Gabriel personally, but the only thing I know about Gabriel is if you have ever had a party in Maryland and you have gone to the Hall of Laurel, he owns that hall. And you know that Maryland is a place for parties. And he chose a right business to engage in. But that's just a snippet of who the gentleman is. I'm grateful. I want to thank Karen Awa, who pushed that I should try to get Gabriel on set. And in the midst of his busy schedule, because the campaign is heating up, Gabriel decided to come on this morning. Welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lambert. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Just fine. A little tired, but okay.
That's good. So let's dive into it. Let's get a little bit of a background. Who is Gabriel? Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're engaged in this.
So my name is Gabriel Njinimbot. Like you said, I'm originally from Cameroon, West Africa, and I moved here about a little bit over 2 decades ago from Cameroon with just $100 in my possession. With a very strong belief in the possibilities of this country. And I started off, like most immigrants, working at a seafood restaurant in College Park, Maryland, bussing tables, waiting tables. And then I moved on to becoming a security guard and, I took computer classes and became a IT professional on an Oracle database, administrator, networking, and so on. And I worked for PG County government for 2 years and for Baltimore City government for 18 years, supporting all city services in all departments, from police, health, planning, general services, the liquor board, and, parking fines and all. And subsequently, I went to law school. I obtained my law degree from Concord School of Law. And I opened up a couple of small businesses around Laura and Jessup. And now I'm running for United States Congress.
What a journey. That's been a great journey. And one can see the meteoric rise, isn't it? Starting off from the restaurant, most basic, the 3 basic needs of man, isn't it? Food, clothing, and shelter. You began from there and then moved into IT. I see everybody. I mean, if you have not worked in a restaurant in this country, a security guard in this country, then you have really not enjoyed life, because that's the beginning. And now I was, the question that I really had when I was preparing for this is, I've never heard Gabriel. I've never seen him in anything public life. How comes he's just coming up and wanting to run for office? But I have my answer. You have worked for the city government. You have worked for Baltimore. And so at least you have the lay of the land in front of you. But let's get this out. Why are you running for office?
Well, that's a very good question. I get this question a lot from different folks. And before I answer that question, I also wanted to mention that I'm an author also. I've published 5 books. They're all on Amazon. In fact, I'm going to be doing a Meet the Candidate and also a book signing on June the 25th. It's a Sunday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. In the evening. Now, to answer that question, why am I running? I've had many people ask me this question for different reasons, and I have many reasons for running. But the one that stands up in my mind is the fact that I grew up from Cameroon in West Africa, and my parents, who never had a chance to see the four walls of an elementary school, they taught me hard work and a promise that I can be anything I want if I put my mind to it. And I moved to the United States with a strong belief in the possibilities of this nation. And it is that belief and the promise that pushed me from working at that seafood restaurant and moving up to security guard and taking computer classes and had a law degree and being an entrepreneur and running for office today. It is that belief that I understood that makes this country what it is. But over the course of the 2 decades, a little bit or 2 decades that I've been in this country, I have seen that there's a stack inequalities between or amongst the people that live in this district, not just in this district, but in the state and across the country. And for so long and for far too long, we have settled for the status quo of immigrants, not achieving their potentials because they don't believe that they can. We've settled for an educational system where our kids still struggle in school. We've settled for a system where people cannot open up small businesses because of the bureaucracies that exist in the system. We've settled for our veterans who fight for our country, go to war, come back, and you can see them all across, the city and the state holding signs on the road saying, "I don't have food to eat," or "I don't have a place to stay." We've settled for our police officers and firefighters working 48-hour shifts because no one wants to be a firefighter because they're not getting paid good enough. We've settled for our teachers who work so hard to train the next congressman, the next governor, the next president of this country, who work so hard but they get paid so less. We've settled for the status quo of our healthcare professionals working for hours and hours because they find it as a convenient way for them to raise money and save some money and take a vacation, or also raise their own kids and see them achieve their own education. So this complacency and the settlement for this kind of status quo almost made me lost the belief of the potentials I have for America. And I feel like it was time for me to bring in a completely new energy into what should be America, what should be District 4. And I know that those who run, those who are in the office right now, they believe that they've done it all. The same folks over and over again run for the same political office, and the result has never been different. So this is the United States of America, and I believe that we can accomplish more than what we can right now. But in order for this to happen, we have to elect someone who has experienced and lived the life of an ordinary grassroots American to go into the House of Representatives and see how we can change the status quo, because I know we could do better than what it is right now.
So that's a tall order. You have a laundry list of things that you want to accomplish. But before we dive into those issues,
yes, sir,
let's talk to the district, Maryland District 4. What is Maryland District 4 made of? What are the counties? What are the areas? Who are the people you are really addressing in Maryland District 4?
So District 4 is one of the largest districts in the state. It includes 3 counties. We have largely PG County, which constitutes from Laurel all the way to Seabrook, all the way to the National Harbor, Bowie, Capitol Heights, Beltsville, part of Burtonsville, and Laurel, and so on. And you also have part of Montgomery County, which is also in the state of Maryland. But largely, everyone in PG County, if you live in PG County, you're more than likely part of District 4.
So Montgomery County, not a part, Baltimore?
No, Baltimore. So Baltimore City is in District 3, okay. But PG County, District 4 constitute mostly, I think 95% of it is PG County.
Okay, so again, I used to think that I'm really plugged into the community. I didn't know that you're running to be my congressman because I live in Riverdale. Okay, I didn't even know.
Right.
I didn't even know that. That's to show you where we are with the community. So again, right. The people you are looking, and we have a large African presence, a large African population in Maryland District 4.
Yes.
But seemingly that population is not represented. That population is not represented in office. And I like what you said there about inequalities, isn't it? You are seeking to. Do you think, and maybe before I get into the issues, as an African, you talked about inequalities. Don't you think that because of those inequalities, you have already lost the race before even starting?
That's actually a very good question. The stark inequalities that exist in the country as a whole, it's very obvious in some cases, or in most cases. But in this case, I think that as an immigrant, we have a large immigrant population in District 4 and in PG County. And if they do what they must by coming out and getting involved in politics and getting involved in government and getting involved in the community and understanding that they too have a part to play in what is America, then we have a good chance of winning this election. And statistics has shown that most immigrants or most Africans don't participate in politics of this country, whereas those same immigrants constitute a large majority of people who run the engine of America, who run the engine of this economy. And so, yes, there's the stark inequalities, but I think that if they do what they must, we have a good shot in being part of what's happening in the country, being on the table when certain decisions are made about us, people who actually run the economy of this country.
So, Gabriel, who's your opponent?
Oh yeah, my opponent, his name is Glenn Ivey, and just so folks know, he was a state prosecutor for Prince George's County a couple of years back, and so he's the incumbent right now, and I'm gonna be battling with him when the election gets here.
So Glenn, I think if I'm not mistaken, he's not been in office for a while. I don't know how long he's been in office, and he's an African American.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what do you have? What is the machinery? What is the strategy you have to be able to unseat an incumbent like that?
I believe in America, and the folks in this district, in the state, and I've spoken to about 7,000 of the constituents of District 4, and they're not concerned about what you look like or where you come from or what race you belong to. They are concerned about who can address the issues that they currently face in the district. And we've seen that for many years, for far too long, we've elected the same people over and over again, and the results has never been different. Now, when I talk to the folks in the district, and if you go to my website, you will see that the issues I have listed on my website are the issues that most folks in the district are facing as we talk right now, and that range from education, and just so you know, and anybody who's listening, Prince George's County public school system, which I have 3 kids in that public school system, is at the bottom 50% of education, the educational system in the state. When it comes to math, our children are performing at 8%. When it comes to reading, they are performing at 24%. When it comes to graduation, they are at 76%, down from 79% from 5 academic school years ago. So when you talk to folks across the district, Black, white, Asian, Latino, African Americans, and you name them, their issue is not who's running, it's who can tackle the issues that they're facing. And I am a good candidate for this because I have lived and experienced the issues and problems that most people across the district, across the state, across the country are experiencing when it comes to the issues that they're facing, be it from children all the way to senior citizens. Now, Prince George's County also ranks second in the entire state when it comes to crime. And when I talk to the folks in the district, which I've spoken to thousands of them, they will tell you that they want these issues. They want to be able to go home safe. They want to be able to walk their streets safe. They want to be able to see their neighborhoods clean. They want to be able to see Black entrepreneurs opening more businesses in the district. They want to be able to see the abandoned houses knocked down and rebuilt. They want to be able to see more schools built and overcrowding reduced. They want to be able to see that their children, which is very important to them, have a good world-class education to be able to compete with other children coming from all over the world, including China and India and the rest of the world. That's what they want to see. They're not looking at who's running. They don't worry about name recognition. And I have lived all these experiences, and when I talk to them, they believe that I'm the one who can actually change the status quo. They see with my own life, coming from Cameroon with just $100, and in less than 25 years, I'm running for the United States Congress. They see that America can change. They see that we could do better as Americans, for our teachers, for our students, for our firefighters, for our police officers, for our neighborhoods, for our country at large. So the question as to whether or not, because Mr. Ivy is an African American and is born here and I'm not, it's not an issue on the table.
If you are just joining us, you're welcome to the Lambom Show. I am on set with Gabriel Njinimbot, running for United States Congress for Maryland District 4. And while we are on it, because I promised, I wanted to introduce him to the community. He wears many hats. When I say wearing many hats, I'm talking about his experience. He came to this country from Cameroon in Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and has gone through, call it many phases. He's done the basic thing that every person who comes, not every, most Africans who come to this country start off either working in a restaurant or working as security guards, then pulled himself up by the bootstraps, did what? Did IT, and became an IT guru, if I may use that. And besides that, he has worked in the city government in PG County and Baltimore City County. He also went to law school. If you know anything about congressmen in this country, they have most of them have law degrees. Okay, most of them are lawyers. But besides that, he has also opened up small businesses in the county. And like I said at the beginning, if you are a Cameroonian and you have attended any event in Laurel, what is that place called again? It keeps escaping.
Yes, it's called Buena Vista.
Buena Vista Hall. If you have been to Buena Vista, that is the owner of Buena Vista. And very often, when you go there, you see him, you will not believe that he's the owner of the hall because he's always very simple and, very reserved. But please, the one thing that we Africans know a lot is how to talk, but we do not know how to walk the talk. This is one of us. This is a brother who has done everything to make sure that he builds himself up and does not want to just continue building himself. He wants all of us to join him. And so I really want to invite people. I've put up his website there, https://gabrielforcongress.com. GabrielForCongress.com. It's as
And if,
simple as that. Please go there. You want to read. I think there should be a particular site for donations. That is the most important thing. Politics runs on money. Politics is all about the money. Gabriel will not be able to just self-fund completely, isn't it? Then again, it doesn't make sense. Because we believe in this cause, because we want the cause to succeed, what can you do? And I want you, Gabriel, at this point, before we get into the issues of the campaign, tell us, how can we Africans support you? And I know you're not running in the Maryland District 4 for Africans, but you're speaking to Africans today. How can we support you?
well, thank you for that question. And before I say that, like I said before, I've spoken to thousands, I mean, literally thousands of members of the district, of members of this constituent. And it's, I was a little taken aback by the fact that if I made 7,000 calls, I was not able to talk to 100 out of 7,000 Africans on my call list. And I did speak to a couple of them, and interestingly, I knew some of them. But one thing I would like to say today, and for the hearing of everyone, is that we live in the United States of America. We have the numbers. We work extremely hard. We left everything from back home, from our families, and not just Africans. I'm talking about the immigrant population as a whole. We left everything, braved the jungles and the high seas to come to a country where we believe we can make life better for ourselves and for our children and our family members. However, we do not participate in the electoral process in this country, and it's not good, because while we work 24 hours a day, there are folks sitting at Capitol Hill and in the White House making decisions about us, and we are not on the table. We have no representation whatsoever. Whereas the paychecks, the healthcare, the safety, the retirements are all decided by folks and we are not on the table. I want to encourage each and every African, not necessarily just Cameroonian, all immigrants. You have to be part of the electoral process. Take part in this process, because we are the ones who run the economy of the United States of America. We should get involved. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for me. This whole process is not about me. It's about the folks in our community. It's about the students, it's about the teachers, it's about the immigrants, it's about the ordinary folks, the grassroots folks who have no representation whatsoever. The special interest groups, the billionaires, the Wall Street folks, the lobbyists, they have no connection with what's happening with us here in the grassroots. And that's why you find the stark inequalities that exist. Now, as to what can be done to help me in this campaign so that we can win, because when I win, we have won. People need to come out, register to vote if you haven't. And when you register to vote, come out and vote when it's election time. We have the numbers. That's number one. Number two, spread the news. Talk to someone who will talk to another person, who will talk to another person, so that we can get out there. Folks need to know what's happening. And there's no other way to do this besides spreading the word. I'm talking to you right now. If you're listening to me, go to my website. I have messages on there. I have a WhatsApp group. There's a lot of Africans or Cameroonians or immigrants who know I'm running. But like you said, we have to walk the talk. Spread the word as much as possible. And lastly, we have to donate. In the course of me doing this campaigning and running for office, I realized how much money has ruined politics. I realized why no one wants to be part of this process, because it's very expensive. It's a full-time job running for any kind of office, much less the United States House of Representatives. I'm required to make phone calls 8 hours a day and get on interviews like this one and talk to different groups, talk to people from all walks of life, talk to people, small business owners, firefighters, school students, and teachers. But we need the funds. Without the funds, we cannot do much. So I'm asking everyone listening to me right now, $5 is not too small. $5 goes a long way to fuel the campaign. It's very important.
You talked about a WhatsApp group. Is there a number I can put up so that people who want to join the WhatsApp group can go in?
There is no number. I have to. There's a group I created.
Okay.
But yeah, if anybody wants to be part of the campaign, you could go to the website and there's a volunteer page where you could actually, put your name and whatever you like to do for the campaign. You could put it in there, and then we can reach out back to you.
Right. So again, just to reiterate what our future congressman has said, you have to push him out. If you live in District 4, if you live in Maryland District 4, and most of it is PG County, and I know for a fact most Africans in Maryland live in PG County and Montgomery County. Correct. But if you live in District 4, which is PG County, please go register. Register to vote. It's a simple process. If you are a citizen of the United States, go register. Very important.
And on my website, there's also a link to register to vote. So all that information is on my website. If you go, I think it's on the first page. You go all the way down, you're going to see how to register to vote. It's online. It's a very easy process. Does not take much time. And we're going to set up also a voter registration drive to help people who cannot, deal with technology and all that, to help them to register to vote, because we need the numbers come April of next year.
Good. So please, if you are a citizen of the United States and you live in PG County, the first and most important way to support the congressman to be is to register. Go register. And like he just said, if you don't know how to, the simplest way is to go to his page. It's still on there. I have it. I think I just put that to meet Gabriel for GabrielForCongress.com. Gabriel is a simple one. Gabriel for Congress, FOR. Congress, please register. Number 2, and let me put it this way. If you are just a permanent resident, and I just say just, not because it's not an accomplishment. If you are a permanent resident, means you cannot vote, isn't it? What can you do? Look for people who live in PG County and can vote, and go campaign. He talked about it in the beginning. Talk to somebody who will talk to the next person and build up that movement. Okay? If you cannot vote because you are not a citizen, that is one way. All politics is local. We would hold our hands together and push up the person, and that is one way to do it. But like he just mentioned, please, politics is money. It's very expensive to run a campaign. Very expensive. You are just told it's a full-time job. It's not that he's taking, you are putting in money for him to take a pay from it. No. He has to do certain things to move around, talk to people. That needs money. Right. Please, if you cannot do anything, that last one is very important. As small as $5, please. This is going to help. And Gabriel, I like us because, again, when we talk about these things, people don't understand how the process works. It's a 2-part process. I think the first stage has to get you onto the ticket for the Democratic ticket is it May next year?
So the primary is
right
on April the 24th of 2024 if nothing changes. And that primary is essentially there to weed out people who don't have money to sustain the campaign. And that's where all of us come in. If I'm able to sustain the campaign, and win the primaries, then during the general election in November of 2024, then we're going to have a congressman from Cameroon.
Pretty much clear. It's
Yes.
as simple as that. April is very
this.
key because it's a democratic state. We don't have these too many Republicans around. I'm not saying that I'm
Right.
partisan in that sense. But, Gabriel, I mean, that said, let's push that and come to something, because I have 3 kids who also go to PG County schools. And PG County, for a long time, I mean, for as long as I've lived in the United States, we have always heard PG County is not doing well. Our children go to these schools. Most of our friends, Africans, are teachers in these schools. What is the problem, and how do you intend to fix it?
Look, that's a very good question. There are 209 public schools in Prince George's County. 209. About 133,000 students, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a lot of issues going on in the school district, ranging from overpopulation, the teachers not getting paid well, the school environment not conducive for students to learn, nor for teachers to teach. And it's a long list. And I had put it as a mission to visit all 209 public schools in the district, and I've already started this mission. I've been to at least 10 of them. I've spoken to the teachers, I've spoken to the students, I've spoken to the superintendents and those on the front line. It is not a very easy problem to fix. It has to take parents, it has to take teachers, the students, and the school system itself to be able to resolve these issues that are plaguing our school system. But the number one issue that I have got consistently from the 10 schools I've visited and from all the school teachers is the saying that parents have to play a significant role in taking care of their own children. We have to get involved in the life of our children, because the teachers only have our kids for 6 hours a day, and the rest of the days and the 24 out of the 24 hours, it's yours. And I know we are busy. We do work. Some of us work 2-3 jobs, and we don't have time for looking after our kids and seeing what they're studying in schools. But we need to get involved in the life of our children. Parents need to get involved in the life of their boys and girls, as well as their mothers. The other issue that I heard consistently from the teachers across our district is that PG County, compared to Montgomery County and other districts, teach our students less hours than all surrounding districts. That needs to change so that our kids have enough hours to at least learn in school. The other issue that I've heard across the district is overpopulation. One of the schools in which one of my children do attended, 1,300 students in that school. In one community with thousands of 1,300 students going to that school. And like you said, most of the teachers are immigrants. They don't have enough teachers. They don't have enough resources. The teachers themselves use their own pocket money to buy school resources in the United States of America. In 2023, that should not be happening. We have solutions for all kinds of problems in the world. We send people to the moon, and we're planning on sending someone to Mars. But we cannot provide school supplies for our own children. That does not make sense. So these are the issues that we need to talk about on a daily basis and to bring to the attention of the government, because the role of government is to protect its citizens when they cannot protect themselves, and also serve them when they cannot serve themselves. Now, when politicians take money from corporations and lobbyists and special interest groups, they don't care about these things. But you and I, who live in the grassroots and send our kids to these schools, they don't send their kids to our schools. So we have to address these issues on a daily basis. We have to pay our teachers even more money than they're getting paid right now, so that can give them an incentive to go and teach the kids. Most of the teachers are leaving the profession because of a series of issues. One of them is pay. What the other issue is because parents are not getting involved in following up what is being taught in school when the kids get at home. So I'm going to be working fiercely on this educational issue, because the only reason I'm here talking to you right now is because I was able to have an education. And we cannot settle for an America where our kids are still struggling at an 8% proficiency in math, a 24% proficiency in reading, and can't even graduate at 100%. We have the resources. I don't know if you know, but we spent $300 million a day in Afghanistan when the war was there. $300 million in one day. But we cannot pay our teachers the little salary they're asking for to teach and train our own children, who are the future leaders of tomorrow in this country. That is wrong. That must change. We could do better than what it is right now. And it would only take someone who's not taking money from Wall Street, special interest groups, because I'm not going to be fighting for them. I'm going to be fighting for our children. I'm going to be fighting for our community, for our teachers, for our firefighters, because my campaign is a strictly 100% people-powered grassroots campaign. That's why we're asking for small donations of $5, $10, and $100, because we're not getting. We have to fight to change what has been accepted for so long, which is not correct. That must change, and that's what I'm going to be fighting for.
So I wanted to, because again, generally if we wanted to focus on politics, I want you to state categorically that you are not having funding from any special interest groups, from lobbyists, and from the billionaires. So clearly, everybody understands it is our $5 that is going to propel you into that billionaire to do the campaign, isn't it? So clearly, you have made that. I mean, I'm sure at the end of the campaign, when we're looking at donations, we are not going to be seeing any special interest.
Listen, I moved from Africa to here with just $100, just $100. And I struggled from day one, from the restaurant, bussing tables. And I used to move from nightclub to nightclub, picking bottles to sell them to make money. If you look behind Heineken bottles or Guinness bottles, it says it, 10 cents, 5 cents a bottle. I used to visit all the nightclubs in this county, picking these bottles to sell it for 10 cents. And by the way, we need to fix that, because there's no recycling plant for bottles in the state of Maryland. That must change, because if there was a plant like that before, I would have made some money trying to sell these bottles, but I couldn't sell it because there was no recycling plant. New York City has one, or we don't. So my struggle can't be forgotten. And there is a cross-section of people in this district, in this state, in this country, that live the exact same kind of lifestyle I grew up in, trying to live themselves with their own bootstraps to get themselves into the middle class. And there's just no way I can forget that. I can't forget where I came from the roots. I can't forget the help I got from friends and families and some folks who didn't even know who I was, but decided to help me. There's a cross-section of folks in our district who need help. But that help is not going to come from Wall Street. It will come from someone who has lived and experienced what it means to earn a minimum wage, what it means to be a security guard, what it means to work 16, 24 hours a day trying to make a buck, what it means to raise 3 or 4 children in a public school system that's struggling to be one of the best ones in the country, what it means to be a nurse, what it means to be a correctional officer, what it means to be a janitor. You mentioned that when you come to my business place, you can't even tell I'm the owner of the business, because that's how I was raised. That's how my parents taught me. That's how I grew up. That you are there to serve the community, and that's what I do. So when I get into office, I'm not working for Wall Street. I'm not working for special interest groups. That's why if you even look at my donation list right now, a lot of them are small donations. And I can promise you, I'm not working for Wall Street, not for lobbies, not for special interest groups, not for big corporations. I'm working for the community.
That's good to hear, and we hope that, like I said, at the end of the campaign, we'll be able to do an evaluation. And it's great to, the one thing that I want to go on to now is, I mean, that is a challenge, isn't it? It's a challenge to be able to build a campaign from the grassroots, knowing that these big lobbies, these special interest groups are there. They are the ones who are controlling how the environment moves, isn't it? In politics in particular. And yet you're trying to break through a brick wall. And one wonders whether you are just oblivious of the challenges. And let me put the question in a better way. There are people who have tried before you and failed. Have you looked at why they failed and how are you correcting that? So there have been many other Africans who have tried to do different things in politics in the region. They have not succeeded. What is it that you are going to do different in order to make sure that this does not end like, the other campaigns?
Well, the one thing I can tell you is that this, like I said before, this campaign is not about, I'm not the only one who is running this campaign. And history has shown that when people get together, when a community comes together, when a movement is formed, anything is possible. Yes, it's an uphill task. It's not an easy thing. And yes, the special interest groups are going to be there to support other candidates. But what I know is that a cross-section of this country belongs to the grassroots folks, to the middle-class families, the working-class families. And if we put ourselves together, if we band together and work together and sing together as a chorus, there is no challenge that's going to be more difficult than a movement. There's nothing that's impossible if we all can come together as one people, as one district, as one community, and push forward a campaign. That I can tell you for a fact. If we don't break this glass ceiling, it's only because we did not do our own part. We have the resources, we have the numbers. People just need to come out, and as a candidate, as someone who is going to be representing everyone else so that we all can win, I'm doing my absolute best to make sure that we win the election when it comes time.
So that's great. Like I said, again, I can only say, given the options that we have on the table, I'm glad that you are taking cognizance of the different challenges that we are facing. The one thing that I wanted to also point out, we talked about education, but the other thing is small business. There are many of us, many Africans who want to run a business, and you talked about red tapes and the bureaucracies. What has been your experience setting up these businesses in PG County or wherever they are? And what would you advise folks who want to follow a similar path? And the third part of it is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to change it?
Well, I wrote a book titled Turning Small Resources into Big Dreams. And like you mentioned, a lot of us Africans and immigrants and most people are very business oriented. They're the entrepreneurs. I started off my own business in 2008, buying an auto garage. And subsequently, I converted the auto garage into a used tire store. And we subsequently opened up 2 locations. And I have also ran a business as a tag and title service agent for the state of Maryland. I was also a public notary. I used to do, and then we have the hall right now. And the process is not been very easy as an entrepreneur. And what I know is that, yes, the government is trying to enforce certain codes and regulations when it comes to establishing and running or opening a business. But what I say is, we could still enforce these codes, maintain the regulations, and enforce them, and still make it easy for people to open up and set up small businesses. I would give you an example. My establishment, we have a liquor license in there. For anybody who knows and have tried in any of the districts or any of the counties, the 23 counties in the state of Maryland, obtaining a liquor license is not a very easy process. Mine took 13 months to get it done. But if you were to try to get a gun license, you can get that in 3 months. Now, think about that for a second. I cannot count how many people have come up to me because they want to do the same line of business that I do. But the process is very, very rigorous. And I also understand that the government or the counties want to make sure that people are safe when they come to these events or they assemble in one location. But we can still make this process easier and maintain the rules and regulation and the code enforcement that the government wants to. But right now, it's not very easy. Not very easy. It's not a walk into the park. Put it that way. If you want to start a legitimate business, be it an assembly type business or gas station or any kind of business you want to set up, it's not a straightforward process. It's not a very easy one. You have to be very determined. And for anybody who owns a business, you know that opening a business and maintaining it for 2 years without shutting it off, it's not very easy. Most businesses will struggle past 2 years, but they can't survive 5 years because it's not very easy. And I think that government can help small businesses or make the process a little bit more relaxed for people to open up businesses, because that's what runs the economy. And many people are out here trying to open up and establish small businesses, but it's just been a serious hassle getting these things done.
Yeah, it's again, I think personally, my belief is many of us rush into this. We just want to do things. We don't want to really follow through in spite of the challenges, isn't it? But I believe your experience should be such that it's one that people can look up to. 13 months to get a liquor license.
Yes.
So it's more difficult to get a liquor license than to get a gun license. And that's why we have guns on our street.
Yep.
13-year-olds carjacking on the street and every day, everywhere, no doubt. And I don't know what, is it that the government, the administration just likes it? What do we need to do? Rally together? And these are some of the things I'd like to hear. I mean, I'm putting that as something I'll be holding you, making sure that if you become a congressman, you work on that.
I've been through both processes of starting a business and getting the licensing and permits and zoning and all of that, and also being through the process of obtaining a firearm. And it's just the way the system is set up. I find it a little bit strange that getting a firearm, it's not that complicated. But getting a liquor license, you have to go through planning and zoning. You have to go through the health department. The fire department is involved. Licensing and permits is involved. You have to have architectural drawings inspected over and over again. You have to have construction inspected at every step of the way. And, the process is just very, very long, that most folks who are struggling to establish a business cannot sustain this for a long time. I just think that there's a way that this can be easily done and still maintain safety and code enforcement. That can be done. And I think that when I get elected into office, I want to get into the nitty-gritty of us as to why this is taking so long for these licensing and permits to get issued or approved. And someone in the licensing and permits department did tell me that they get overwhelmed by the number of applications coming in. But let's get to hire more folks. This is the United States of America. We have solutions to problems overseas and in foreign countries. We should be able to fix the ones that are here in our backyards.
Great. Let me now go over to a third aspect that you mentioned. I just lump all of them together. One, the police officers in PG County and firefighters and the veterans. That seems to be a big problem. Again, within the context of racism, maybe we don't find that as much within PG because we have a black police force in general. But the issues that plague the police force, we find that prevalent, isn't it? Call it abuse of power and recklessness with the police department. But how do you intend? I heard you talk a lot about pay. So across the board, it seems as if one of the major problems with our public institutions is most of the people who come to serve are not well paid. And that is why you find a certain reluctance, a certain reticence with people coming, wanting to serve. It's better to be maybe a businessman than to go be a teacher, isn't it? Of course, it should be. But how do you intend to fix the issues with our safety and security officers within Maryland District 4?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, District 4 ranks second when it comes to crime in the entire state. And you talked about carjacking. Every time I make phone calls, there's two issues that come up all the time. There's educational issues and the safety issues. There's a lot of carjackings, especially in PG County, for some reason. Now, what I've realized is that we have to try to solve these problems before it actually starts. We have to get people off the streets. We have to have after-school programs, because those carjackings and break-ins and robberies are mostly done by the young folks. We have to create programs that can keep the kids engaged, keep them off the streets. And I know that this is not something that can be done 100%, but we do have to try to do some of these things. We have to do things in the district that can create jobs. There's a lot of people who are looking for things to do, but they just can't find enough things to do. For example, we have, if you remember, some maybe 10 or 15 years ago, we used to use payphones.
Mm-hmm.
We still have payphones that are not working littered across the district. We can pay folks, we can create jobs by having people remove all these payphones that are no longer useful and installing electric charging stations for vehicles, because that's the future anyways. Now, when it comes to police officers, I've spoken to a lot of them. I have friends who are police officers as well. Most of them do complain about pay because of the risky nature of their job. They want to have some kind of security, or know that, I'm getting paid well. That's a good reason for me to, one, serve my community, and also two, just go out there to work. But a lot of them do complain that they're not getting paid well. Same thing with firefighters. I've visited a couple of fire stations, and most of the firefighters work for 48 straight hours because there's no one to relieve them off of duty. One of the reasons is because they don't get paid well, and so nobody has an incentive to go be a firefighter. Again, if our country can spend $300 million a day fighting wars abroad and overseas, why can't we spend some of this money to increase the pay of our police officers, to give them that incentive to work? Why can't we use some of this money to pay our firefighters even more money and encourage the young folks who want to be firefighters to go in and fight? That's the question I want to ask at Capitol Hill. Can we use some of this money we're spending in trillions abroad to help our citizens, our people who want to serve their own country in America? Can we do that? Why can't we use some of that money to pay our teachers more, pay our police officers more, and keep our streets safe, pay our firefighters more, and more importantly, why should someone who signed up for duty go and fight war overseas, come back with PTSD and the rest of it, and you find them on the streets holding the signs that says, I do not have food to eat today, and I don't have a place to stay? Why is that happening in this country?
It's a tough one, but again, I want to challenge you on that. I know it's a balancing act.
Sure.
You came from Cameroon. You are now a successful man in America. You came in here because maybe there were Peace Corps that were sent to Cameroon, and you got to know about the American dream, isn't it? Why would you want to cut away funding in order to focus on? Are you an anti-globalist? Are you against multiculturalism? Are you against? It sounds to me like you have a Republican talking point when it comes to focusing on a local community as against, where is the balancing act with that?
So I am completely 100% for America helping people overseas. 100%. Because folks around the world look at America as a beacon of light. Okay? And they hope that America could do, and they're doing a lot for people out of America. What I'm saying is, with all the resources we have, why can't we do the exact same thing, or even more, even better, to folks in our neighborhoods, to our students, to our teachers, to our firefighters and police officers? Why can't we do that? We could walk and chew gum at the same time. That's my point. We can't. We should support Peace Corps and food aid, and even support countries like we do military-wise. But we should not forget about our students back here. Our teachers should not use their own money to buy school resources for the kids. They should not. Our teachers should not complain about pay when they're the ones grooming the future doctors and lawyers and teachers and congressmen and president and everything about this nation. They should not complain about pay, because these are the people who are literally training the future generation of what this nation and the world is going to be all about. They're not trained by congressmen. Our streets are not getting, the safety of our streets are not kept by congressmen. When a building is on fire, they don't call the congressman to go put it out. These people put their lives at risk. When you and I run away from a bullet, guess what the police officer does? He runs towards the bullet. When we're running out of burning buildings, guess what firefighters do? They run into burning buildings. We should take care of them with dignity and respect when they work, when they retire, and when they die. That should be happening in this country, because we have the means, we have the resources. That can be done. But this cannot be done if we keep electing the same folks over and over again and expecting that the results are going to be different. That status quo can change. It must change, because I know we could do better. This country is better than one where our teachers are complaining, our firefighters, and it's better than one where our veterans, you should not find veterans on the streets on a hot summer day or a cold winter day. I know this because I have been there and talked to them. I've been there and visited them and give them food and blankets on interstate highways. I've talked to teachers. I talk to school teachers all the time. I've visited schools and talked to them. If you go to my Facebook page, you see pictures of me in schools talking to teachers and students. We could do better as the United States of America, but we have to have a completely different set of folks at Capitol Hill. Not the rich folks, not the billionaires, because they cater for who put them over there. It's time for us to change the status quo. We could do better.
So we have a couple of more minutes. I promised this was going to be an hour, but I have like 3 more questions for you. Okay. I wanted to focus on something that you have not talked about.
Sure.
And that is your family. And I know for a fact that, when I went to your campaign page, I saw you having your wife, and I think there are 3 of them, kids. What was the decision? How did you take that decision, considering your family, to run for office? How did that go? What was that process? And how are the kids and your wife, how are they taking that?
So that's a very interesting question. Yeah, I do have 3 beautiful kids and a wife. And the kids are, they don't, I have an 8-year-old and he's behind me.
Yeah.
And he's very in tune to what's happening. He will sit by me and listen to the phone calls I make to the constituents, and And he encourages me, to, oh, daddy, how much money did you raise today? They're trying to help daddy get this thing done, and the girls too, they're very supportive. We plan on going out on the campaign trail, giving out leaflets and talking to members of the constituents as well. So everybody's very supportive about this. They know it's not very easy, but they're willing to get on that ride with me, and I'm very grateful for their support. And I'm hoping that we all can get this done.
Number two. So I said I had three. So number two is why? What? I mean, you have risen to a certain level. Why do you want to bother yourself again? What is? Tell me deep down in your heart. What is it? What is it that you want? Just a name? So everybody now knows there's Gabriel Njinimbot who ran for office in Maryland some time ago. That's a question I had before, but when I listened to you talk about you spent 16 years, 17 years in Baltimore City County or across, then I said, well, then you don't need, because you already have access, isn't it? But what is it? What is it that this thing you are running for office? What is the primary motive? I mean, again, it's easy to say help. I mean, my story, but tell me. You don't think that this is so that the next president of the United States can appoint you to be an ambassador to Cameroon or something?
I've had this question asked in different variations, in different forms. Like, why you want to get in this nasty politics, and it's a dirty game, and politicians kill people, and they've said all kinds of. They've asked me these questions in different ways, and my answer to that question is this: growing up as a kid, I have always been the kind of child who got help from many people, friends and families, and people whom some of them don't even know who I am. I'm someone who's been handed down like a baton from one step to the next, up to where I am today. I'll tell you a very short story. When I came to the US about 24 years ago, I met an American in Chicago. His name was David Nelson. And obviously, I looked very tired and exhausted after the long flight. And I got to Chicago, confused as I was, from a small airport to O'Hare, which is a humongous airport.
Yeah.
And I got lost for 4 hours trying to figure out the gate to the next flight. And I met Mr. Nelson. And he asked me where I was going, where I was from. And I told him. And he asked if someone was picking me up at the airport, and I said no. But I told him I was connecting to Ohio, and he asked, he said, I'm going to Ohio as well. Is there someone picking you up at Ohio airport, at Akron, Ohio? And I said no. Mr. Nelson took me from the airport, and we drove for hours to the school I was going to attend. We got to the school, and the school was closed. He thought of leaving me on the street. This is some little kid who came from Cameroon, doesn't know anybody, doesn't know what America is. He left, but something told him, like, you left this kid, the school is closed, he has nowhere to go. Mr. Nelson came back, picked me up, and asked if I know anyone in the country where he can send me to, because he doesn't know who I was. He can't take me to his house. And I said I have, family in Washington, D.C. He took me to the Greyhound bus station, paid my Greyhound bus fare for $60, and gave me $20 more as food money. And that's how I ended up in D.C. This is somebody who have no idea who I was. He doesn't know me, but he was gracious enough to give me that push, that helping hand. That little push is what, those little things. And I've had help while here in Maryland from my landlords, from people on the street, from neighbors, from the mall, from gas stations. I mean, things like that would push you to want to give back to the community, give back to the country that has made you who you are. It's if I'm already recognized in my family and from you and friends. I don't need name recognition. I just want to give back to the community that has made me who I am. I just want to give back to the country that has made me who I am from Africa to who I am right now. I don't find any better way to do it than being a public servant.
That's a great story, and I really appreciate that you could tell that and link that to why you are running for office. That's very important. And if my last thing is going to be, always start off using that story. My last question to you, and which is from where we started, Gabriel, give me 5 reasons why I live in PG County. I am a member of District 4. Give me 5 reasons why I should vote for you. Apart from the fact that you and we look alike, isn't it? That nobody wants to. I'm an African, so what? And again, there was a video that was circulated about that was introducing you. And when I watched that video, I think it's 10 minutes. Most of it was about your life in Cameroon. You came from poor background. You were selling things in the University of Boya. Your friend Jude was going to come and say something about you. I don't know what is happening to him. But at the end of I had just one question. So what? I mean, you are not running for office in Cameroon. Why should I be interested in that story? I'm an African living here struggling, and I have a friend, a Nigerian, who is I've brought him to my show a couple of times. I think he has struggled. He has been, I think this was his 3rd attempt to be the mayor of Dallas. And every time I ask him, he says, no, I've never lost an election. The only problem is that I did not win, but I did not lose either. And he says, I left Nigeria and came to America not to become a Nigerian, to become an American. So forget about this whole story about. But so I live here. I want you to tell me why I should vote for you.
Sure. Number one, for a very long time, we've elected people who are not connected to us. And for a very long time, we have seen in the past decade that the same people over and over again, we still have the same results. We still fall below in our education, and we still live in one of the riskiest counties when it comes to safety in the state. That's number one. Number two, you need someone who has lived and experienced what working families and grassroots Americans are experiencing to be able to represent them in the House of Representatives. Because if you have anyone up there that does not understand what the kind of life struggles you have, they cannot represent you. Number three, I am running a grassroots people's power campaign. I'm not taking money from special interest groups, lobbies, or big corporations. Okay. Number four, I have lived in this county for 24 years, and I have children in the public schools, and I've been to these schools, and I know exactly what's happening in there, and I'm able to fix it. Might not take a day, but we have to start from somewhere. Was that the third one or number four?
That's the 4th one. You just have one more. I'm sorry that I gave you 5. I should have ended at 3.
And number 5, we should no longer settle for the status quo. I know we can do better than what it is right now, and I can do this job.
So thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. And like I said, you must have heard me say my congressman in waiting, isn't it? So
yes, sir.
I am very appreciative. I'm very glad that you were able to come on this platform today. The 3 things that I have taken away: we can't settle for the status quo anymore, no matter what it takes, isn't it? We all have to. And brothers, sisters, friends, do not say there is nothing that you can do to support Mr. Gabriel. I don't live in Maryland. I'm not a citizen and all. No, you can. There is something that you can do. A lot that you can do. Spread the word. First thing, spread the word. Okay, go in. There are many African events happening this weekend. If you can talk just to one friend and convince them to drop a $5, okay, that would be great. Talk to somebody. Donate and look for time to come and Do what? Volunteer. Let us build it. A people-powered campaign from the grassroots. I love that image. You hold the person up from the grassroots. We gather and push up. That is what we need to do. And Mr. Gabriel, I will be from time to time reaching out to see whether there's something you want to talk about. Friends, I thank you for the time. I want to go back. That's Mr. Gabriel's page, gabrielforcongress.com. Spread the word, register to vote, donate. 3 things. Any last word?
Well, I just want to be appreciative of you, bringing me to your show and having me talk to, folks and people in that constituent and everybody who is watching. And I just wanted to say that this campaign is not about me. It's about our community. It's about our teachers. It's about our students. It's about our the folks, the working families, and everyone below the poverty belt who are struggling to raise themselves to the middle class. And we know that you need someone who have experienced the issues that you are currently facing right now to be at Capitol Hill, to be your voice. And I'm that one because I have lived and experienced most of the issues that working class families in this country are facing. And I'm ready to fight this fight for our children all the way to our senior citizens and our environment and our women and our veterans and and all the immigrants. And I'm looking forward to your donations and you spreading the word. And finally, I'm looking forward to your vote.
So thank you very much. Our first Cameroonian to go to Congress. We will all work together, do what we can to push you. Congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having been a part of this show. I'll see you again later this afternoon when we do the Manchester City versus Inter Milan for the Champions League finals. That is going to be at 3 p.m. I'm going to be broadcasting with some Manchester City fans. There's a Cameroonian goalkeeper who is Anjonana for Inter Milan. I'm a soccer fan, that's why. But
okay.
Thank you very much. And I know you are going to be rolling out. I'm going to be making sure that every week I post up something about your campaign.
Thank you very much.
Can build that. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. I'll see you later.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.